Hi, friends. We are ready for Chapter 9, Lesson 4 today. What I would like for you to do is actually pause the video and try the sentences on your own. When you're finished, come back to the video and check your work with me. All right, I'll see you soon. All right, you should have paused the video already and tried the sentences on your own. So let's go through and see how you did. Number one, did several firefighters walk from house to house after the tornado? So we look for prepositions first. See, from what? House, object of the preposition. To what? House, object of the preposition. And after what? Tornado, object of the preposition. The article adjective. Who or what walk? What is the subject of the sentence? Firefighters, subject noun. What is being said about the firefighters? What is the verb? Walk. Good. Did is a helping verb. And several is a word that describes the firefighters. It talks about how many. Adjective. Where do we divide this sentence? Right before the main verb. But the subject is just several firefighters. The predicate is did walk from house to house after the tornado. This is a question mark asking sentence, interrogative sentence. Let me make sure that the is underlined. There we go. And it follows subject, noun, verb, pattern 1. Very good. Number 2, today. Oops, hang on one moment. Sorry, my computer battery was running low. All right, number 2. Today, a tiny green hummingbird darted quickly to the feeder on the porch. Looking for prepositions, I see to. To what? Feeder, object of the preposition. On is another preposition. On what? Porch, object of the preposition. The article adjective. The article adjective. Who or what darted quickly? What is the subject? The subject is the hummingbird. What is being said about the hummingbird? What did the hummingbird do? Darted, verb. Darted how? Quickly, adverb. When did the hummingbird dart? Today, adverb. What kind of hummingbird? Green. What kind of green hummingbird? Tiny, adjective. A, article adjective. Where do we divide this sentence? Right before the main verb. There is no helping verb in this sentence. But the subject is a tiny green hummingbird. The predicate is darted quickly to the feeder on the porch. And today, it is an adverb, so it has to go with the verb. Okay. This is a period statement declarative sentence. Follows subject, noun, verb, pattern 1. And for our final sentence, in the late afternoon, the huge pile of dead leaves and broken branches burned quickly. We're looking for prepositions. Right off the bat, in is a preposition. In what? Afternoon, object of the preposition. What kind of afternoon? Late. Adjective. The article adjective. Of is another preposition. Of what? Leaves and branches. So we have compound object of the preposition. So COP, COP, because and is a conjunction. Remember, when you have one C, you have to have three. What kind of leaves? Dead, adjective. What kind of branches? Broken, adjective. What is the subject of the sentence? Pile, subject, noun. That's why we have to find the prepositions first, because I bet you probably might have put leaves or branches if you didn't do that already. Once it's already in the prepositional phrase, it can't be the subject, okay? What is being said about the pile? What did the pile do? It burned, verb. How did it burn? Quickly, adverb. What kind of pile or which pile? Huge, adjective. The article adjective. Whoa, where are we going to divide the sentence? There are no helping verbs, so we're going to go before the main verb, okay? The subject is the huge pile of dead leaves and broken branches. The predicate is burned quickly in the late afternoon. This is a period statement declarative sentence, subject, noun, verb, pattern 1. How did you do? Did you do all right? Thumbs up? Down? To the side if you're feeling okay? All right, let's look at lesson 4. Today is mostly a review. We are going to be talking about dialogue again. All right, so chapter 9, lesson 4. So to review, quotations are words that are spoken by someone. Quotation marks are used to set off the spoken words. Explanatory words explain who is talking, but is not part of the actual quote. And an ending quote is at the end of a sentence. The explanatory words are at the beginning. That is what we did yesterday when we said, when we had the sentence, Tracy said, I hope I can catch a fish. Okay, we talked about ending quotations. Today, for lesson 4, we're talking about beginning quotations. So in a beginning quote, the quote is at the beginning of the sentence. The explanatory words are at the end. Again, we'll have 4 steps to punctuate a beginning quotation. So step number 1, place quotation marks at the beginning and end of what is said. Put a comma at the end of the quote before the quotation marks. Put a period after the explanatory words. That sounds very similar to yesterday's step 1. The example is, the children and I are making cookies today, Nana said. So you have the quotation marks around the quote. This is what Nana said. Our comma goes inside, just like our period did yesterday. And we put a period at the end. Step number 2, capitalize the beginning of a quote and any proper nouns or the pronoun I. Going back through, the is the start of a sentence, so it needs capitalized. I is a proper noun. Nana is a proper noun. Okay. Punctuate the rest of the sentence, checking for any apostrophes, periods, or commas. There are none needed for this example. So we have quotation mark, then the capital letter. Put your whole quote, a comma, inside the quotation mark, and then your explanatory words followed by a period. So the corrected sentence should look like this. The children and I are making cookies today, Nana said. Okay, Quotation clue number 2. If the same speaker continues speaking after the explanatory words, use another set of quotation marks to identify the rest of the speaker's quotes. So like this sentence, it says, "I won a prize," exclaimed Thomas. "I hope it is a new computer. I am so excited." So there was kind of a pause right here for the explanatory words. So they end the quote and then begin the quote again. That's why for now we are underlining the explanatory words. Okay? So let's go ahead and get out our guided practice. The first few sentences probably look very similar to yesterday. All right, number 1, Tracy said, "I hope I can catch a fish." All right, so first off, we're going to capitalize Tracy. Let's underline Tracy said. That's the explanatory words. Comma. Start your quote. "I hope I can catch a fish." Let's put a period inside the quotation marks. Okay, we already capitalized Tracy. That's the beginning of the sentence. We need to go back and capitalize our pronoun I's. Tracy said, "I hope I can catch a fish." Number 2, the order is different. "I hope I can catch a fish," said Tracy. What are the explanatory words? Said Tracy. So we're going to underline that. So that means everything else is the quote. So we start our quote and we put a comma after fish and then our ending quotation marks. Okay, see how it's a little bit inside? Then we end with a period. Now let's go through and find capital letters. So we know that the letter I has to be capitalized when it's by itself. I hope I can catch a fish. Tracy is a proper noun. "I hope I can catch a fish," said Tracy. So it looks very similar. It's just reversed a little bit. Okay, so make sure that your comma goes before and then at the end, at your ending quote, it goes inside. So let's try a few more. Number 3, "Have you caught any fish?" asked Tracy. What are the explanatory words? Asked Tracy. Very good. So the quote is, "Have you caught any fish?" Now, Tracy asked a question. So we're not going to put a comma. We are going to put a question mark. And then still a period at the end. Okay. So this time we added the question mark because Tracy actually asked a question. Let's find capital letters. We know have is the beginning of a sentence. So capital H. "Have you caught any fish?" asked Tracy. Tracy is a proper noun. All right, we're going to flip the order again. Tracy asked, "Have you caught any fish?" What are the explanatory words? Tracy asked. Go ahead and underline that. So we're going to put a comma, start the quote. The quote was a question, so we need to end with a question mark before the quotes. So let's find capital letters. Tracy asked, "Have you caught any fish?" Number 5, Tracy shouted, "I caught a fish." The explanatory words are Tracy shouted. What she shouted was, "I caught a fish." Now, if someone's shouting, should we end with a period? No, we should probably end with an exclamation point. Tracy shouted, "I caught a fish." Check to make sure your exclamation point went before your quotes. Tracy needs to be capitalized, and I needs to be capitalized. And number 6, "I caught a fish," Tracy shouted. "We get to eat fish tonight. I am so happy." Where are the explanatory words? Tracy shouted. Underline that. There are several different sentences here. So the first quote is, "I caught a fish." Again, since Tracy shouted, we're going to end with an exclamation point. End the quote. Tracy shouted. We're going to end that sentence. But Tracy's going to start talking again. So we're going to start the quote. "We get to eat fish tonight." That is a sentence. "I am so happy." End it again with another exclamation point. End quote. So if you have a pair of quotes, so like right here, I have a pair of quotes. There's the end pair. They have to go together. Here's a pair, here's a pair. Okay? Start and end. So let's go through and find capital letters. The letter I needs to be capitalized. Tracy's name needs to be capitalized. We starts a new sentence. The letter I needs to be capitalized. Okay, so you have done a lot of practice with editing. And so on your classroom practice tomorrow that you're going to do, each line, I'll go ahead and show it to you actually. So there are different lines and it says how many mistakes you're looking for, okay? So if we're looking at here, every little marking that we do is a mistake, okay? So like for number 1, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 7 mistakes in number 1. So your capital letters, your commas, your end marks, your quotation marks, those all count as a mistake, okay? So like number 2 had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It had 7 again, okay? So pay attention to that. Make sure that you have the same number as it already gives you. That's kind of like a hint, all right? Great job today.